Hey guys, it's Mrs. Beatty. Happy Monday. I'm going to be reading chapter 8 in our story, Jack, and then you will have a short assignment to work on today and tomorrow. Remember that there's the PDF also on Google Classroom if you want to either read it by yourself or read it with a family member at home. I copied the pages a little bit wrong, so I'm going to skip over one page and then I'll just keep reading. So here we go. Chapter 8, Mom Martha and Tom Thumb. The giant went about her business, shouting orders and bumping into things. Bumping me into things. I was smacked and slammed and tossed to and fro so viciously I couldn't help but think of all the spiders and grasshoppers I'd put into Annabella's pocket. Poor grasshoppers! I promised myself that if I ever got out, I'd never put another living creature into anyone's pocket again. I need a serving spoon, shouted a giant. I need a knife, shouted another. Out of my way! I smelled food, delicious food. Bread, bacon, turkey, leg of lamb cooked in sage and onions, or maybe it was leg of man, boy stew, human hearts. My own hunger shrank and curled in my stomach. What was this giant going to do with me? I tried to make an escape hole with my axe, but I nearly chopped off my own arms, so I gave up and tried to stay still. After what felt like hours of being jostled around, the noise quieted and the giants plucked me between two fingers and pulled me out. It was evening. The windows were dim and the kitchen was lit by a single candle on a table as big as a wheat field. Menacing shadows stretched along the walls and ceiling. Dark shapes lurked in the corners. The giant brought me to her face, cupped in the center of her palm. All the giants Grandpa Jack faced were brutish men with disfigured faces and breath like rotten meat. This giantess was not disfigured. She had round rosy cheeks and twinkly eyes. She smelled like fresh baked bread and melted cheese. My stomach grumbled loudly and the giantless chuckled. I'm hungry too, she said. It's been a busy day in the kitchen, and goodness knows I am always the last to eat. But I'm so glad I found you. Such a sweet thing. Sweet? Sweet things were good for eating. Snakes and toads. Wake up, Jack. Because she's just a woman giant doesn't mean she won't eat you. I slid the axe from my waist and raised it above my head. Thou barbarous and villainous giant, I am Jack, the great. Oh dear, that does look sharp. The giantess plucked the axe right out of my hands as easily as pulling a pin out of a cushion. Don't want to chop any fingers or toes now, do we? I prefer to keep you in one piece. She dropped the axe into her apron pocket. That did not go the way I had pictures. Oh my, you are dirty. Let's wash for supper. The giantess plopped me into a wash basin and poured water over my head. She held me between her thumb and forefinger and rubbed me against a bar of soap, up and down and all around, so the soap lathered and bits of foam got into my mouth. I coughed and spat, and then the giantess dunked me back under the water and swished me around like a dirty rag in the wash bucket. Swish, wash, swish, wash. All clean. She shook me a few times, wrapped me up tight inside a handkerchief, and set me beside a stub of candle. The flame was like a blazing fire in front of me. It was nice and warm. Now, my name is Martha, said the giantess. You can call me Mom Martha. Mom? What's your name, little one? I looked at her, confused. Did giants enjoy knowing the names of their meals? Roast Jack, Jack stew, Jack pudding and pie, delicious. Oh, poor thing, said Martha. Perhaps you have no name. Some do come that way, but don't worry. We'll find you the perfect name. You could be Hans or Fritz or Gus or... The giantess continued to rattle off names, but a movement at the corner caught my eye, the corner of my eye caught my attention. A sugar bowl as big as a chicken coop sat on a shelf just above me. It wobbled from side to side and finally tipped over. The lid popped off and a boy tumbled out. A boy who was my size and looked about my age. Well, if it isn't Tom Thumb, said the giantess with delight. She held out her hand and the boy climbed onto her palm without hesitation. I'm sorry. I forgot I put you in the sugar bowl for dinner. Now that you're here, I have a surprise for you. Martha sat the boy down next to me. A new brother. Oh dear, I never did choose a name for him, did I? He didn't come with one. What do you think his name should be, Tom? Tom shrugged. How about Tim? Martha clapped her hands. Oh, perfect! Tim and Tom Thumb. We're going to be such a little happy family. My own baby boy is all grown up and gone off in the world, and you little ones just fill the cracks in my heart. A giant tear trickled down her cheek and made a puddle at our feet. She scooped us both up and pressed us against her chest so I could barely breathe. I suddenly wished for my own mother, even if she met me with a good tongue lashing. Finally, Martha let us down, and I fell to my knees, gasping for air. We must celebrate, said Martha, with cheese. Cheese and children, my two favorite things. Martha went to a cupboard and took out a large wooden block slab of cheese as big as a cow and a giant knife. I struggled to get out of the handkerchief and tipped over to Tom. Tom helped me and unraveled me. Thanks, I said, but before I could say anything more, Martha placed the cheese right between us. She cut off a chunk and popped it in her mouth. The smell was sharp and acid. I just love cheese. Tom poked his head over the top of the cheese and climbed down the other side. He ripped off a chunk for me. Here, Tim, have some cheese. The smell was overwhelming, but I was dizzy with hunger, so I dug in. It tasted better than it smelled, and I instantly felt better. My name is actually Jack, I said. Well, why didn't you say so? My name is actually Tom. Martha calls me Tom Thumb since I'm about as big as her thumb. I thought she was going to eat me. Tom laughed. Not Martha. We're her pets, like a toad you keep in your pocket. Tom's clothes were rather odd. He wore a giant acorn shell on his head like a helmet, a vest and pants made of leaves and thistledown and fur boots. He had bright blue eyes and a sprinkle of freckles over round cheeks and a button nose. How long have you been here? Did Martha kidnap you? Of course not. She paid another giant an entire round of cheese for me, which is a lot for Martha. She loves cheese. She prefers it over any food. Do other giants prefer to eat children? I don't think so, but giants are the least of your worries when it comes to getting eaten. Once I got eaten by a giant cow. How could you be alive if you were eaten by a cow? I asked. I got swallowed whole. I went straight down the throat like a big mudslide, traveled through all four stomachs, and came out the other end. You mean you came out in the cow's... Exactly, said Tom, grinning with pride. It was amazing. I pictured this event in my mind and slowed down on cheese. It too came out of a cow. Now that I had some food in my stomach and I knew I wasn't going to be eaten, exhaustion settled in. My limbs were sore and heavy, and the warmth of the candle made my eyelids drop. I shook myself awake, but I couldn't sleep now. Perhaps I was not in danger, but Papa might be. Tom, have you seen other people like us? People who have been taken by giants? Oh, sure. There are lots of elves in the castle. Elves? Yeah, elves like us. I'm not an elf. I'm a human boy. Not in this world. Do you think the giants call each other giants? Here in the kingdom, they're regular sized and we're little, so we're called elves. You'll get used to it. I felt a little dizzy. Okay, can you tell me where I might find more of these elves? I'm looking for my papa. Tom froze. He lowered his cheese and looked at me as though I just told him he was poisoned. Your papa? I nodded. Giants took him, and they took all our crops and animals, and they snatched my papa right out of the barn with our newborn calf. Tom's eyes lost focus. He looked as though he had gone somewhere very far away. His name is Henry, I said. He looks like me, only taller. Have you seen him? Tom snapped to attention. Nope. Haven't seen anyone's papa lately. He took a large bite out of his cheese. Do you have any idea where he could have been taken? No idea. Would Martha know? She was steadfastly feasting upon cheese with her eyes closed. The giant slab was now half gone. She hardly ever leaves the kitchen, said Tom. I see a lot more than she does, and I've been all over the place. Want to duel? Tom picked up two giant toothpicks off the cheese board and held one of them out to me. Normally, I would have jumped at the chance, but seeing the giant toothpick gave me horrible visions that might have happened to Papa. Not now. I'm on a quest. I walked along the edge of the table looking for a way down. Tom tossed the toothpicks aside. A quest? I love a quest. I'll join you. What is our quest? Treasure? Trolls? No, I'm on a quest to find my papa, of course. Tom's smile faded. Oh, well, that's not as fun as treasure or trolls. You know, there's lots of treasure in the castle. The giant king is extremely rich. He has mountains of gold, giant sized, and he makes it with magic. Mom Martha's seen it before, haven't you, Martha? I got a tingling feeling at the back of my neck. A giant king? Gold? Magic? It was like Grandpa Jack's tales. Martha opened her eyes as though she'd been awakened from a dream. What? Oh, yes, the king has plenty of gold, but I dare say it would be better if he could grow some magic potatoes. Such a famine we're in, I can't grow a bean these days. Our cows don't give milk, the hens don't lay eggs, and if we don't have you little elves, we'd all be starved. Martha's words took me by surprise. So that was why those giants took all of our food? Because you're in a famine? Of course, I had noticed how brown and droopy all the plants were, but I hadn't made the connection to famine. It's a curse, said Tom. An evil magician put a spell on the land. Tom, stop telling tales, Martha chided. I know it's horribly beastly of us, but what can we do? We would have starved by now without you dear little elves. Her eyes started to brim with tears. Don't cry, Martha, said Tom, patting her big hand. We know it's not your fault, and you're very kind to us. But why do you take people too? I asked. Why not just food? Giants couldn't handle very Giants couldn't very well handle our food on their own, could they? Said Tom defensively. Can you imagine Martha trying to milk one of our cows with her giant hands? She'd crush it. I had to milk 17 cows for that one slab of cheese, you know. Such a good, sweet boy, my Tom Thumb. Martha patted him on the head so his knees buckled beneath him. Now that's enough chatter for one night. It's off to the sugar bowl with you boys. Martha scooped us up and dropped us in. The sugar bowl was very comfortably lined with feathers and thistledown and other soft things. Good night, sweet boys. Sleep tight and don't let the cats bite. Martha placed the lid over the top, and it all became pitch black. Isn't Martha great? Said Tom. Sure, I said. Great. Just wait until tomorrow, said Tom. After we milk the cows, we can duel and joust and play tug of war. We can eat whatever we want, and I can even take you to the armory, where there are helmets that make terrific forts and swords that you can slide down and axes and spears you can climb like trees. Okay, I said, wondering if I would ever get my own axe back out of Martha's pocket. At least I still had my sling, though I didn't see how it could do me any good against the giants. I was so confused. Martha was not at all like the giants in Grandpa Jack's tales, and apparently they had stolen from our world only because they were having a famine. That didn't make it all right, but it made it less monstrous than I assumed. Still, it didn't make my quest any easier. Where was Papa? What giant was I supposed to conquer here? Clearly not Martha. Yawning, I nestled down. It had been a long, long day. 2 days in one, really, and I was out of ideas. I'd figure it out in the morning.